beloved ones and your friends. And how about we start as usual with 3 minutes of gratitude, just focusing on Alhamdulillah and feeling it. And by now, inshallah, I hope that we're all familiar with that deep feeling of gratitude. So it'll be good if we don't actually try to remember anything to be grateful for, and just immediately dive into that feeling, tune into it, inshallah. We should be familiar with enough to just tune into it. When we say Alhamdulillah and just stay there, if you feel you are going out, again, Alhamdulillah, and just appreciate it. It's like when you are in a beautiful place or with people you really enjoy, or you don't want to just leave. That's exactly what we are doing right now. We want to stay in that hal, in that state of being, not because we're forcing ourselves, but because it's so soothing, it's so grounding, it's so peaceful, it's so connecting to who we truly are as ibadallah, and to our source, our Rabb. Inshallah, Bismillah. So I'm again putting the...
One thing, Dr. Yamina, in one of the earlier breathing exercises or meditations that we had, you asked us also to try to kind of not reflect, but listen to what need we have and what name of God we might be feeling the need for. I think a couple of weeks ago during the gratitude.
So
do you think it would be good to do that as part of this as well?
My intention today is just to go there immediately without needing to remember a situation, so that we start, how do you say, detaching from this situation or that situation. So I'm not grateful for particularly one thing, but I'm just grateful, and I don't need anything to happen for me to be in a state of gratitude, inshallah.
Okay.
Bismillah. So the timer on, Bismillah, it's on. Alhamdulillah. So far, we learned from our reflection on this ayah 180 of Surah 7, Surah Al-A'raf. We learned how the most beautiful names of God, the most beautiful names first, belong to God only. And we saw how that's essential to Tawheed, because if or when we when it feels to us that some of the names, some of those attributes belong to anything other than God, at any, however much, even a tiny bit, then we are opening the door to shirk. We are leaving away from Tawheed. And in a way, we are distorting the names of God because we are ascribing them to things that they don't belong to. And that's the second part of the area. I don't know if we will have time to deal with that, but if we understand the first part, it will be easier to understand, inshallah, what the second part also means. And we also saw that how this is related to witnessing in the world, that actually the most beautiful names belong to God, and which means that we witness their glorifications, their tasbihat. They are actually, in a way, testifying that the beautiful names don't belong to them. And a very simple, easy to understand example is water. When we don't think about it, it seems like it gives life. But when we look carefully, when we reflect and contemplate, clearly lifeless water cannot be a source of life. So the life that is channeled, manifested, reflected through lifeless water does not belong to water. So water is declaring through its lifelessness, it is declaring that it does not belong to it, and it is pointing back to the source. That's their glorification. And that's possible when we start perceiving beings like water, like anything created, as ayat, as signs, meaning as meaningful beings that bear meanings and messages from beyond, messages beyond themselves. They signify something beyond their own existence. And for the glorification, we also talked about this tasbih. The first step is we witness all this happening in the outer world. So we see water doing, testifying. The second part, or the second step in this process, it's the second step of the Shahada, the second step in tasbih, in glorifying God with his beautiful names, and in confirming the message of this ayah, is to participate in the glorification. So it's not only with testifying it, witnessing it in the outer world, but also in our inner world to participate. And this second step is key to the calling onto God with or by means, bi asma'ihi, by means of his most beautiful names. And we'll see how this is related to that inner step. It is essential. The ayah again is the most beautiful names belong to God alone. So call on him by them, and leave those who distort and abuse his name. They will be requited for what they used to do. So now we know, inshallah, at least we went through the process of how we come to know. So we can go back and practice it. And it's something that needs repetition, that needs practice. It's not just because I understand it intellectually that it's now my belief and my reality. It's something that needs to be again and again practiced. But we know that the most beautiful names belong to God only. And now we want to recall the meaning of prayer. I'm saying recall because we did this in the past few years. We talked about the meaning of prayer, of dua, actually, because prayer is also used for salat. So here for dua, to call unto God, and the goal, the aim of dua. What is the aim? So when I'm saying dua here is supplication, prayer, all kinds of calling unto God, the rest of the day, the rest of our life, apart from the prayers as the salat. So I'll use the word dua, inshallah. So we need to have a glimpse of what dua means so that we can understand how to call unto God, how to ad'uhu, make dua unto him. And then the second step will be how to make dua unto him by means of his names, inshallah. So within this context, okay, let me cut it short because there are so many things here. I'll just go directly to dua, and I'll repeat it because I personally feel it's very important, because many years ago I knew all this because it's explained in many different parts of the tafsir of Imam Nursi rahimahullah. And I thought I understood it, and maybe I did understand it intellectually, but lo and behold, later I caught myself not practicing it. When I was thinking that I was, actually I was not. And that's because when part of us, because ghafla is not black and white, we can be partially in ghafla, partially not. And I was not even aware that I was not practicing it fully. And that's why I feel the need to emphasize the meaning of dua. So here we're going to look at what comes to our mind when we think of praying to God, calling out to God. We think of special requests from God. That's the familiar understanding. And these requests are expressed through words and through feelings, through the heart. We feel really the need for something. We really want something. There is a desire. So usually those special requests, when do they happen? When do we feel the need for that? In special occasions, and usually not happy occasions, but in times of crisis, in hardships. So when we need help for something, when we feel something is beyond our control, like in times of intense sickness or any kind of difficulties. And that's what, so when we say dua, call unto God, what we understand immediately is supplication, a prayer, as a means to securing some needs that are beyond our reach, something that we cannot meet ourselves. And so if this is dua, if dua is a means to secure our needs, what is its goal? Or what is its wisdom? And why I'm asking this question? Because think of it. We have so many needs. I am saying so many, but actually the more you reflect, the more you realize that we only have needs. Everything we have is a need. However, most of the time we're not aware of them. Why? Because most of our needs, especially the essential ones, are being met without us even realizing it. We're not even aware of it most of the time because it's done onto us so easily. And for that reason, we're often not aware that we even have those needs, let alone that they are being met for us so compassionately, so easily, so beautifully.
We only notice them if something goes wrong, or we hear that, you know, many years ago at one of your halakas, I met a woman who was saying Alhamdulillah for sweating. And I had never like had that. I was like, what? She had an issue with a skin disease that she couldn't sweat. But she's been taking medication, using lotions, you know, medicated lotions. So that day she was able to, right?
Go out, she couldn't live a normal life, yes.
Yeah, her skin would crack up because she couldn't get rid of. But that day she was, I think, able to sweat a little bit, and she was saying Alhamdulillah. I was like, what? It's a, you know, hot day in Istanbul. What are you?
We complain when we sweat.
Yeah, I'm sweating again, kind of. So from the sweat, from the way in which blood flows in our veins and it's cleansed, right? We only notice these things when very rarely we come across something not going right. You know, a child that has a little, one of my friends, actually two of my friends, had a baby is born with a small, what is like a hole in one of the ventricles of the heart. And yeah, so a lot of things throughout inside our body, just to think physically, it's so much being taken care of.
So yeah, exactly like that. So like, think of it, all activities going on in our bodies, not our body, our cells, our whatever you call it, circulatory system, respiratory system. Our life depends, for instance, my favorite example, on our breathing. And our breathing is not under our control. Yet, lo and behold, we don't usually pray for breathing. Why? Because we are made to breathe in such an easy, smooth ways. So we don't pray for air either, because there is usually an abundance of it. Alhamdulillah, thank God. So, and other things, when we intend to walk, before walking, I just see, I just hear, and we take it for granted, but it's not so obvious if we pause and think about it, or walk, or speak, for instance, or understand. There's so many activities required for us to be able to walk, to take one step, or to move our hand and grab something, to achieve those tasks. And they are just done onto us. So we don't realize that actually these tasks are also beyond our control. And they are being taken care of, but we're not aware because they are being taken care of very smoothly without we asking for it. We need to, only when someone asks us a questions, or attracts our attention to the fact, we realize it. So what does this all mean? If we think, usually we think, I said, as dua as a special request from God when we need help for something that's beyond our control. But now, so from that perspective, from our perspective, when we are in that state, God's answers our dua when he is meeting our needs. But if we keep in mind now the new perspective, that we have so many other needs that are actually much more essential and much more important than maybe those things we are praying for that we think we really need. And these things that are essential for our life are also beyond our control, and we cannot meet most of our needs. Yet, they are met. What does it mean if they are met? It means some kind of, how do you say? Prayer is accepted, but it's not a prayer with our tongue. It's like the prayer through our own way of being. Why? Because the moment it stops, we would panic and feel the intense need for it. So now we understand that, or imagine, let's say, through the opposite. Imagine that this were the case with all our needs. All our needs were like breathing and walking and everything. They are met without asking from our part. Would we be able to realize that we have needs and they are being met? Would we be able to enjoy and appreciate the meeting of our needs? Somehow we are fed. We don't feel the hunger and then eat everything. It's just like for breathing. Most of the time we don't feel the joy of breathing, and we are not therefore consciously grateful for it. And it does not add a joy, appreciation in our life because, okay, that's the taken for granted. I want more now. It does not make me, it doesn't fulfill me as if. So imagine if that was the case for everything. There would be no way for us to feel any need. Then would we be able to appreciate anything? Would we be able to appreciate and taste the beautiful names of God as we saw in the past? The key to the beautiful names of God are our needs. So can you see
question for people?
Sorry?
Is that a question that
I mean, it's a question, it's a rhetorical question. I think it's clear that there is no way. So you can see like there is great wisdom and great compassion in having some needs that are left to our care. Not all needs, only actually a very tiny range of needs are left to our care. And it's like a unit of measurement. It's that through that we realize that our needs are being taken care of. So it's a way to make us pause and reflect and realize how totally dependent we are on our sustainer and how actually all our needs are being taken care of. So those needs, for instance,
say one thing, Yamina. If all our needs were met seamlessly, we might as well stayed in the womb. Why did we even come out, right? And we were being fed.
There will be no purpose in life. Actually, it will be not boring. Everything would be meaningless. We wouldn't be able to connect to anything, to make sense of anything. We talked about that when we talked about the needs. So since the needs are the key to our, even worldly enjoyment is tied to our needs. And through that worldly enjoyment, we find the source, the sustainer, the provider of the blessings. And therefore we move, that way we can move from the gift to the gifter, from the world.
Yamina, why are you saying it would be boring? Why can't it be beautiful and delightful and people would be filled with gratitude and a better connection with Allah?
There will be no awareness. That's why we are given, it is true only when we become aware of it. But that awareness needs to be cultivated within us. And the mechanism for us to be aware is that we are given a very limited range of needs that are given to us to take care of, so that we realize that everything else is being taken care of. And then it becomes, as you said, everything becomes a source of peace and living in the presence of God, in the presence of His munificence and His blessing us and providing for us. But we need to be aware of that in order to feel that. That awareness needs to, we need something to wake up to it. And the way we are created, we wake up to it through the needs that we are given, the limited needs that are left to our care. For instance, our body is cleansed, the inside is being taken care of. We have to clean our body from outside, something, and even that, like so what is left to our care is of two ways, either through taking action, washing your body is taking action, or through calling. Sometimes there is something that is beyond my control totally, and so I call on to God and wait to receive. I'll get back to that. What is important here is that the mechanism, the way to become aware that our needs are being taken care of is the way we are given. Some needs are left to our care. So some needs, we become aware of it. For instance, we feel hungry and then the food is created, everything is created, the water is created. We just need to put them. We are given the power and the strength to pick them up, to bring them. And then we just put them in our mouth and chew. Even the chewing is not really, I'm not making an effort. I just find myself chewing when something is there. And lo and behold, everything else is happening without me knowing it. I can study how it's happening, but I do not control it. So can you see the chain of digestion, the whole system of digestion? I have only the first step is in my hand. So it's a prayer to realize how the rest is being taken care of. Of course, when we are not in ghafla, but because if you're in ghafla, whatever, even if they wake us up, we don't see it. But if we have the intention, then the whole chain of action that is being taken for food to be digested, for instance, is a series of ayat waking us up, letting us know that someone is taking care of us. When I realize that, oh, I just put food and the rest happen. If I didn't have to even put food, it would be harder. We cannot imagine what is not. In our situation, that's how it works. That's what wakes us up. That's what attracts our attention, because I feel the hunger. I feel the need for nutrition. And so that's why when I'm nourished, I can appreciate it. Most of the time, most of us are most of the time more or less healthy. When there is some sickness, partial, most of the time it's going to be partial, we feel the need to ask for healing. And it is then that we realize that, oh, most of the time I'm already being taken care of. So this is very important, because now we realize what really this prayer, this dua is about. Because we realize also that God does not need my dua. It's not like God doesn't know that I need healing, but I have to please beg him for healing. That's not what's going on. The asking for healing is for me to become aware that he is the healer. He is the healer not only when I am sick, when my health is deficient, he is the healer all the time, even when I'm very healthy. So our needs are the means to prayer, to dua, but they are not the goal. They are the means. They are what makes us feel the need to seek help and to realize, therefore, that there is a source of help. There is a helper, a provider, a sustainer. So we are in need of prayer, of the dua, of calling on to the one who can help us. Because through dua, we get to recognize who takes care of all our needs. We get to find the source of all that we need and long for. We get to find through dua, through our needs and the need to have our needs met. That's also a need. We get to find the source of all the most beautiful names. And we find our compassionate and generous host and sustainer. We find God. I'm saying God at the end because if I say God at the beginning, it would be just copying. I wouldn't know him. But the goal of dua is to get to know God as our Rabb, as the compassionate, as the healer, as the helper, as the provider, to get to know God with his most beautiful names. That is the aim and the goal of dua. We need dua because it connects us to the source of all the beautiful names, and that is God. It makes us know who our Rabb is, and it makes us seek him only. So accordingly, moments of crisis become opportunities because they are moments when we feel some our needs more intensely, and this way we are led to seek help and to pray. That's what dua is, to seek help. And so those moments of crisis, those hardships, are opportunities for us to experience and taste God's mercy, his generosity, his providing, his blessings. Carry on the list. It is the opportunity to experience and taste the most beautiful names of God. Does it mean that only when we are in crisis? No, that's the wake-up call. Once we wake up, then we'll start realizing that we don't need hardship or crisis for that, because we are, swimming in mercy. But in the beginning, it's like when we are in ghafla, we're like a fish in water. We don't realize that everywhere is water. So from time to time, it's like we are taken out of that. So we realize, can you please take me back? And when we are taken back after a few times, if we have the right intention and the right attitude, inshallah, hardship may still come, but we don't need hardship to know God. But hardships are opportunities to get to find the names of God, the beautiful names and the source of the beautiful names. And later, there are also opportunities to upgrade our iman, to live more in ihsan, to not take anything for granted. And when we see all this in the perspective of akhirah, of eternity, it is those hardships already are going to shrink, and they don't look as horrible and as intense and as they do in the beginning. So the hardships are opportunities, and once we reach the source and we confirm that truly what we are longing for, all the beautiful names belong only to God, and therefore we seek help from him alone and we call him alone, then we realize that in fact God's mercy, God's generosity, his most beautiful names are present with us all the time. And if we're not aware of it, it's because either we never realized it or we realized it once or twice and then forgot it. And we took it for granted because so many of our essential needs are mostly being taken care of so smoothly. And not only our essential needs as breathing and things, but also I need to walk and I just walk and go. But who said that walking is not something intrinsic, inherent to me? And just because I walk all the time, I just intend and it happens. I don't even stop and reflect about how do I walk? Who is walking when I'm walking? It's exactly like breathing. It is done unto me. It is a gift, and it is a manifestations of many, many beautiful names of God, of his blessings. It is a great blessings. So the aim of dua, the aim of our calling unto God, is to know God with his most beautiful names, and therefore to worship him and alone, to seek help from him alone. Because sometimes it seems like, I'm taking examples from my own past, it was like as if there are two sides inside. One is saying all this, but really the feeling is like, I need this, A, B, C, D. Please, God, give me A, B, C, D, because the solution of my problem is A, B, C, D, or X, Y, Z. How do you know? Who said? But in that state, there is no questioning. We feel so sure because we have not done the inner work. How do you know? As if, Hasha, God does not know what I need. I know my need. I know how to take care of it. I know what I need to take care of it. Can you just give it to me? Because I have to come to you because I can't do it myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't come. Most of the time when I can do it myself, I don't. That's how it feels. That's not this dua. That's not dua. This is not the dua that the Quran is talking about. God does not need our prayers to tell him, to let him know, or to tell him what my needs are and how to take care of it. Or he creates us here and now. He is creating us. He's sustaining us with those needs, and therefore he already knows what I need and what is the best way for me for my needs to be met, because I could even be misunderstanding my needs. How can I be sure?
Dr. Yamin, I have a question, and feel free to take it later or not. As you were talking, I'm reminded of the verse that talks about people who are sincerely praying when they're out there in the storm, in the ship. So, and then when they come to the shore, they forget and they fall into shirk. Now, when they are praying wholeheartedly, sincerely in the ship, they are actually asking for something. And so I used to think that, the problem is that when they get to the shore, they forget that they actually completely depended on God and actually completely realize that only God could help them. So how does that connect with what you have just said about not turning the prayer into a shopping list? Or are they maybe using it as an occasion to connect with God, but then they disconnect it when they get to the shore? You are muted, by the way.
We talked about it the first week, actually. they are sincere because it's like with gratitude. Like Imam Nursi always says, like, gratitude is not something that I create in myself. I found it in myself when I focus on what things to appreciate. I will feel myself filled with gratitude. So it comes through me. I become a channel to it. Now, where my free will is going to come, where my choice is going to come, is what I do with that gratitude. Do I focus it and direct it to the blessings themselves and remain stuck onto them, or realize that the blessings are a means and therefore, or mirroring the gifter of the blessing, and find the true gifter and be grateful. When I find him, I won't have to force myself to be grateful to him. That gratitude will automatically be directed to the source of the gifting, the source of the blessings. So here is the same. When we are in danger, the fact that we feel really intensely ask for help, and when we are in that state, we don't need to think. Intuitively, fitratan, the way we are created, everyone deep down knows that nothing can help. Here the storm, as we said last week, was a metaphor. Anything around us, deep down, we know that they are not, they cannot help us. Other people cannot help us. Nothing can help us. So only the one who creates everything and controls everything can help us. So in that moment, we seek it from him truly. But that's not something, it's in that state, I'm just not denying, I am not blocking that need and that seeking help from him, because I can say no, however much I'm not going to ask from you. But the next step is to come back and say, thank you, alhamdulillah, only you could help me and only you deserve gratitude. But most people, what they do in that intense fear, intense powerlessness and helplessness, they recognize the true source. Immediately after, they forget about it very quickly and they say, oh, we were very lucky, this and this happened, and whatever. Now, if they stop and you ask them deep down, do you believe in these stories you're telling? They know it's not the case. That was really, so that's what it is. That's why it does not count to stop there, but it counts if I take it as an opportunity. That's why I said it's an opportunity. Those who have the intention to be genuine, authentic, to have integrity. Integrity requires that we remain faithful to ourselves, to our that experience of helplessness and how the help reaches us seemingly out of nowhere. And we know that only the one who has control of everything is helping me right now. That's why I always say, stay there with that feeling, stay there, acknowledge it, recognize it, familiarize yourself with it. Especially it's about acknowledging, repeat it, remind yourself of it. That's dhikrullah. Remind myself, this is God, this is my God, he is my helper. And so it is an opportunity to spring like off to a new level of awareness of ubudiyya, inshallah. because deep down, ubudiyah is knowing that I am helpless and totally dependent on my Rabbul Alameen's, the sustainer of everything's help and blessing and sustaining me. So here, prayer is not it's not like we're reminding God of what to do, and as if we know how to take care of our needs, and we don't have enough power and strength. So we're just going to Him to ask for help. That's totally ghafla. That's not what's going on. That's a distortion of the situation, which leads to distortion of the beautiful names, because I'm already in a state of distortion. I am already in a state of assuming that I know my needs better, and I know how to take care of it, and I know what I need to meet my needs. And all those claims are on the ungrounded claims. What I feel could be the truth or not. If it is the truth, it's because I am made to know. No, not I know. I have been inspired with the knowing. So there is lots of humility. In the other one, there is lots of arrogance. Praying to God and begging, but now I realize I did not intend to be arrogant, but in my ignorance, there was a lots of arrogance. Astaghfirullah. So for instance, God creates us with the need for water, the need for nourishment, for food, for instance, in order to become aware of our connection to Him. We get to know Him as the creator of the food, as the provider, as the creator of the water, the giver of life, our sustainer. And you can add the one who knows everything, who knows our needs, who create the food out there. He's the creator, the maker, all the beautiful names you can, the compassionate, the merciful, because all this is mercy. So this way we are saved from being stuck in the water itself, in the food itself, in the blessing itself, in the things themselves, as though they were the source of some well-being, of some help. That is the path that leads to shirk. As though they could help us. They can't even help themselves. They are unconscious, they are lifeless. They are being created. We are told, there is a passage that I love in Surah Al-A'raf, this surah actually. This is ayah 180. A little bit after, in ayah 191, I didn't want to start with 190, but in 990, it's about some people who ask God to give them something. He gives it to them, and then he says, lo and behold, they forget, and now they are in a state of shirk. Okay, right after this 180. So now in 191, it says, those will they ascribe to God partners that cannot create anything, since they themselves are being created? Because in the beginning, they asked from God, and He did give them exactly what they wanted. Let's see what they'll do. When they got what they wanted, they asked for a salih, like a healthy child. And then they said, oh, like, let's say, it doesn't say how they committed shirk, but there are so many ways. It doesn't say, because there are so many ways. There is, oh, this child is so beautiful, looks like his aunt, his grandfather, he's healthy like me, he's intelligent like this. Oh, just a second. You were asking from God. So he said, will they ascribe to God partners that cannot create anything, since they themselves are being created? And neither are they able to give them help, nor can they help themselves. And if you pray to them for guidance, they do not respond to you. As far as you're concerned, it is all one, whether you invoke them or you keep silent. Truly, all those whom you invoke, tad'una, you invoke beside God are but created beings. Actually, the word da'a yad'u, to call unto God, is used mostly for be careful, you are calling onto other than God. You are committing shirk, you are not calling onto God. It's very interesting when you see how the verb praying, calling unto God is used. It's mostly we are using it in the wrong way. It's warning us. So truly, all those whom you invoke beside God are but created beings like yourselves. Invoke them then and let them answer prayer if what you claim is true. Let's see what they can do for you. Why do you call God and then say it was them? Have they perchance feet on which they could walk? Or do they have hands with which they could grasp? Or do they have eyes with which they could see? Or do they have ears with which they could hear? Say, summon to your help all those to whom you ascribe as partners unto God, and thereupon contrive against me and give me no respite. Truly, my protector is God, who has bestowed this divine book from on high. It is he who protects the righteous, whereas all those who invoke in his stead are neither able to give you help nor can they help themselves. Second time. And if you cry unto them for guidance, they do not hear. And although you may imagine that they behold you, they do not see. So this kind of reasoning is repeated a lot in the Quran. It means this is the reasoning we fall into. It's a false reasoning, and it is teaching us how to question what we are doing. Consider what you are giving importance to. How can they truly help you except God makes them a blessing to you or not? So never cut that connection with the source and forget about the God, and as though that blessings exist on its own, as if it is benefiting me in any way. So the aim of dua, again, is to know God with his most beautiful names, and therefore to call onto him with his beautiful names, to seek help from him alone, to worship him alone, to be grateful to him alone. So yes, dua is asking for our needs to be met. And so one kind of dua is what we said is the familiar one, to ask God for help with words or with desires, with need in emotions, like in our heart, with really, truly, through our helplessness, let's say, our neediness, let's say. The other one is through action. When we are taking action, often we think we are creating somehow or conjuring somehow the result ourselves through our own means, through our own strength. We are not saying this, but it feels like that when we are not aware. But if we pause and reflect, we'll understand that we have no power. As I said, I have no power to hear, to see myself, to think. I intend to think and thoughts come to me. Understanding, I find understanding. It's not like I'm creating it somewhere. I have no idea. Why would I even think if I could create understanding? It would be just be, and it is. I intend to walk, and lo and behold, it is walking. Subhanallah. It is just amazing how we are created and how things are done unto us. But when we don't reflect, we take things for granted, and it seems like somehow we are created. We don't create, things are subjugated to us. The whole world is subjugated to us, is put is subjected to us, put to our service, as we are told again and again in the Quran. So I'm just going to share few ayat because I love them and because I think we need to pay attention to the message and go and check it in life. So in Surah 16, Ayah 14, we are told, and it is He, it is God, who has subjected for you the sea so that you might eat fresh meat from it and take from it gems which you may wear. And on that sea, one seeing ships plowing through the waves so that you might be able to go forth in quest of some of his blessings. And thus we have caused, and thus you have cause to be grateful, وَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. In Surah 22, Ayah 67, we are told, have you not seen that it is God? Remember, have you not seen that it is God who sends the rain? Have you not seen that it is God who has subjugated to you all that is on earth and the ships that sail through the seas at his behest, and that it is he who holds the celestial bodies in their orbits so that they may not fall upon the earth otherwise than by his permission. Truly, God is most compassionate, most merciful to humankind. And in Surah 35, Ayah 13, we are told, God makes the night merge into the day and the day into the night. He has subjugated the sun and the moon. Each runs for an appointed term. We don't do anything. We find the seasons, we find everything. Everything is already subjected to us. Such is God, your Rabb, your sustainer. All control belongs to him alone. Those you invoke beside him do not even control the skin of a date stone. The skin of the date stone is very thin. It means they cannot control anything. ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ لَهُ الْمُلْكُ. Everything is under his control. And in this ayah, you realize that it says, those you invoke, وَالَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ. This is repeated a lot in the Quran. Those you invoke instead of God. So the verb is used a lot in a shirk context. So calling onto things that cannot benefit us. This is an eye-opener. This is attracting our attention to be careful. What are you doing? How can you do this? It means that most people, most of the time, are calling onto things other than God. And there are so many verses in the Quran telling us this. And that's why we are told to not do that. So in Surah Al-Kahf, Surah 18, Ayah 14, we are told, our Lord, Rabbana, Rabbus Samawati wal Ardi, lan nad'u min dunihi ilaha. So the people of the cave, what they say just the opposite. Our Lord is the Lord, because they were in a society that was the dominant culture was a shirki culture, and they were actually harassed and persecuted because they wanted to worship God alone. And so they say, our sustainer, our Rabb, is the Rabb, the sustainer of the heavens and the earth. We shall never call upon anything other than him. This is a decision. They are taking a stand. It's not just like, I don't take a stand, somehow I'll find myself not calling onto other things. It doesn't happen like this. It's like sailing or driving. If I just get on the car and just say, I'm going to drive, unless I have a destination, I can find myself anywhere. I have to have a destination. We have to have an istiqamah, as the Prophet ﷺ says, and as we are commanded in the Quran, istaqim kama umirt. follow the direction, the istiqamah, as you have been ordained. So we have to decide that we are going to call on to God alone. And that's when we are not, we will be able to catch ourselves. Otherwise, we won't be able to catch ourselves. In Surah 45, ayah 13, again, we are told, God has subjugated all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth for your benefit as a gift from him. These truly are ayat, signs for those who reflect. إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Everything is subjected to us. The fact that they are subjected to us is an ayah. When we don't see that ayah, we think that I start imagining, when I live in that delusion of the I thinking that I'm doing things, I start imagining that I'm creating things, I'm conjuring results. And so I only feel the need to seek help from God when I am in crisis, when I feel I can't do it anymore. As if when I was doing it, it was not from God, as if. So taking action when we are having recourse to causes is also calling onto God to create things, the results from us. Our action cannot create, nothing can create, only God creates. Our taking action is a form of seeking the results from God. It is a form of, it is calling on his generosity, on his compassion, on his power, on his strength, on his might, on his knowledge, on his wisdom. It is a dua. It is a calling onto God. If and when we are aware of it. So accordingly, if we are not in a state of ghafla, when we are living consciously, we will find that we will always be in a state of dua, state of calling onto God. Although actually we are always in a state of dua, but most of the time we may not be aware of it because of the potential ghafla. But we have to be careful about it. Whenever we find ourselves away from that awareness, get back, because when we are away from a state of dua, a state of calling onto God, or realizing that whatever we do is a calling onto God's creating for us, on his mercy, on his creating, on his sustaining, then ghafla means a door open to shirk. So it is through dua that we are made to know our sustainer as the bestower of blessings, as the creator, as the provider, as the sustainer of all life, not only our life, but all life. And as we get to know God as our Rabb, as our sustainer, then we can rely on him. Then it becomes easy to make tawakkul. And so when we are in a state of crisis, in hardship, there is no panic, there is peace. It may be painful, it may not be easy. It's okay, because deep down, I know that my Rabb is in charge. He is all merciful, all wise, all knowing, all powerful. How do I know? Because those names are something that I witness and live and experience and taste all the time, all the rest of my life. So it becomes easy to trust God and rely on him and ask help from him only and surrender onto his will. So when something happens, even my disliking, yes, you made me dislike it. How would I know to dislike illness? I am created with the dislike. So instead of saying, I dislike illness, why did you give me illness? I say, subhanallah, you give me illness, you give me the dislike for it. There must be meaning and wisdom in this situation. This is something very wise, so that I seek health, so that I get to again reconfirm that yes, you are the healer, you are the source of all healing. There is no healer except you. La ilaha illa anta, la shafiya illa anta. There is no healer except you. So even if there is no healing yet, I know that he's the healer. And that knowing is much more soothing to the heart, to the soul, than healing and not knowing the meaning of healing, not knowing the healer, and therefore I am healthy, but anything can happen anytime. And deep down, we all have that fear of death, because we don't know the meaning of death. We don't know what death is. And when we are in ghafla, we imagine it as annihilation, as nothingness. And that's very dreadful, very scary, very unsettling, it's just the opposite of being at peace and being present and grounded. And so as we pray to God, as we call unto God, we realize how close we are to him. We can be far, but we realize that he is always close to us. And so that realization brings us close to him, as we are told in the Quran, in Surah 2, Ayah 186. Behold, I am near, inni qareebun. I respond to the call of whoever calls, whenever he calls unto me. Isn't that beautiful? Subhanallah. So to reconfirm this is what came to my mind. When we get on the car or on something moving, it is the tradition to say Subhanalladhi sakhara lana hada wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin. Okay? Subhana, glory be to God who has given us control over this, whatever. It's the car, actually it's our, we can say it for our body as well. So when we can't keep saying it, but when I say it for the car, what comes to my mind, it's not only the car, it's this body, this awareness, this being able to follow everything, this earth, this world, everything, this seeing, this hearing. So it becomes again the unit of measurement, the occasion, the opportunity to remember that everything, as I just shared, everything has been subjugated to us. So here we say, you have subjugated, glory be to unto him who has subjugated this unto us. And we could not have done it by ourselves. We know it's only from you. So you see, this is a dua, right? It is well known as a dua. Like the Prophet ﷺ, we are told, made this dua, even whatever it is, a dua that is taught in the Quran. Don't want to refer to hadith because some people will start, is it a hadith? It is not. It doesn't matter. It is a dua that it's taught to us in this ayah. It says, وَتَقُولُ, and you say, this is what you say. This is what you need to say. So this is a dua. Are we asking anything? Are we asking for anything here? Glory be unto you. You have subjugated this to us, and we could not have done it ourselves. We're not asking for anything in the traditional sense when we think we need to be asking for something. Otherwise, then that's dua and full stop. That's one way of dua, but dua is much more than that. So here what we're doing, we're acknowledging that it is God alone who can subjugate this thing, and therefore all things, all results to us. My walking is part of it, my thinking, my seeing, everything is subjugated. The fact that this house is still standing, everything is subjugated and subjected to us. And we could not have done it by ourselves or by with the help of any other creatures, because they all are also, just like us, created. So our needs are means that lead us to become aware of our need for God. In the beginning, it feels like, I need this, I need that, I need water, I need food, I need a house, but I need food, I need nourishment, I need the nourisher. I need safety, I need the protector. So our needs are all ayat, all pointing, indicating the source of all the most beautiful names of God. That's what we need. We need the most beautiful names of God. We need God alone. And once we realize this reality, it's a reality, it's not a belief only. We believe it because it's a reality. We understand dua for what it is truly, which means recognizing that the most beautiful names belong to God alone. And we start attributing them to Him only. And we start knowing Him by means of His names, and we start calling Him by His names. So Imam Nursi gives an example. He gives the example of the prayer of the rain. When there is drought, there is Salat al-Istisqa, which is calling unto God for rain. So it's time for praying. And lots of people will think that when they are asking God for rain, they are actually, that rain itself is the aim. He says, no, rain is not the aim. Drought is a time for prayer. Like sunset, Maghrib is time for Maghrib prayer. Drought is time for rain prayer. Sickness is time for asking the healer.
Opportunities to remember these
to remember that He is, because He says it is not the rain that is besought, He says, but what it indicates, meaning the merciful Creator. Because do you think when there is drought, He doesn't know that there is drought there? He doesn't know that we need rain? But it's time for us to recognize that, yes, we need rain. We always had water. We took it for so much for granted. And now it is time to emphasize, remember that truly, yes, you are the sustainer. Rain is a great blessing from you, and no one except you can send it to us. So it is a reminder, a time for an opportunity to get to know God even more, even better, get closer to Him. So these are, he says, times for calamities and crises are times for prayer. There are times when we more intensely, we are very intensely aware of our vulnerability, of our helplessness, of our needs. And so we are led to seek help genuinely, sincerely, like from deep in our heart, not just, with the tongue. And we seek our sustainer. We call unto Him for help. And so through this calling, this dua, this prayer, we're seeking refuge with him, with our powerful, our merciful host and sustainer. Otherwise, the aim of prayer is not to get the result, is not to get the rain, for instance, in times of drought, or to get the health in times of health. Getting the health is nurun ala nur, light upon light. It's the side effect of the dua. It's mercy upon mercy, light upon light. So God, because God already knows our needs. He is already meeting and taking care of our most urgent needs anyway, constantly, without us asking, because most of the time we are not even aware of those needs, let alone asking for them. Although they are more vital, subhanallah. So those are opportunities, reminders, times to cherish. And the more we are aware of this, the quicker we get to a new level, because we don't stay in that level forever. I know from the past, like it seems like something is resolved or is not really truly resolved, but you get used to it. And then again, there is a crisis. And after a while, you start thinking, it's always, in those crises, you always feel the same. It's because we didn't pass the class. So because if we pass that class, we get to know God through his names. Next time, it won't be at the same level. We won't feel the same way. It will be something new. We get to know God in new ways. But through his mercy and his wisdom, when we don't pass the class, after a little while, again, they bring us a new paper to solve a new crisis. What seems to us is a crisis, because we don't have that that distance to look at it and calm down and not panic and see that it's something meaningful and wise and happening on purpose. We may claim those things, but I'm not talking about what we claim. I'm talking about how it feels when we are there. So through dua, we come to realize who is meeting our needs during during that time and at all times. First, we realize how powerless we are in meeting our needs, most of our needs actually, and then we get to know ourselves as vulnerable, fragile, as needy, and in this way we get to realize that our needs are being taken care of, are being met for us all the time. And eventually we get to recognize God as our merciful sustainer who sustains us here and now. And the gratitude we feel will start being rechanneled towards him. We don't make an effort to be grateful to him. We need to make an effort to know who the true source is. And the gratitude will be redirected automatically. And then whoever we are grateful for, we will worship him and we will ask help from him. And when we are not asking help only in crisis, in everything, and when things are being done, we will truly enjoy them. We will be in the presence of God. We will see his wish, his countenance in everything. We will be in that state of ihsan, in the presence of God all the time. We don't have to be ill to realize and appreciate that he is the healer. Actually, our being healthy speaks and mirrors and reflects the healer even better than being sick. So this is how we trace back the source of all the blessings and all the attributes, the beautiful attributes, and we mindfully find the connection that everything is connected to one. That's our Rabb. So now how do we call on to God by means of his beautiful names? Since there is no much time, I'll try to go shortcut. So if I go directly into the situation, usually we are told, if you, for instance, if you are ill, if you have a sickness, you call onto God as the healer, Ya Shafi, correct. For instance, I need some help, something, I say Ya Wahhab, or bestower, or gifter. Now, this is true. However, let me first, if I am in need of bestowal and I call onto God and ask God and say, ask him for help and say, oh, you are the bestower. This is nice. I don't have to say, give me this, give me that. You are the bestower. That's it. It means I'm acknowledging that he's the bestower all the time. He knows my need. He knows the best way to answer my needs. So in this situation, inshaallah, bi'idnillah, it will increase our awareness of God as the bestower. While we are asking, it increases. And when we get an answer, we will also be aware that there is an answer, because sometimes we ask and then, like the example Isra gave in the question, we ask for help and then we say, oh, I got it, I did, someone did, it happened to me. Just a second, weren't you asking from God? But because we were not present fully with the asking, then the result, we may not connect the points. We may not realize that this is the result of my prayer. But when
joke that this man was paying for a parking spot really dearly, and then as soon as he says, oh God, please, a parking spot, one of the cars moves out from the parking and he can park, and he says, God, never mind, I found it. I found it.
Yeah, exactly. So here,
yeah, don't yes. It wasn't true prayer if we make it like this and then we don't even recognize it's given.
Exactly. So when I am saying you are the giver, you are the bestower, consciously, so whatever the result is, I will feel in my heart, because I'm present, the connection. This is the answer to my prayer. And so this is an opportunity for shahada, for testifying that God is truly the bestower, the gifter, and it is an opportunity to increase the certainty that God is the bestower, to increase in iman, it is worship, it is increase in ihsan, in living in the presence of God as the bestower. For instance, how about if I call onto God as the bestower, but meanwhile, myself, I can't give to others. I find it hard to give. Is my call onto God true and sincere? Can you see that there is a contradiction here? With the claim that God is the bestower, it means I'm saying it, but I don't believe it. And then I say, my prayer was not accepted. It's not that, because in that state, even if it is accepted, I don't see the connection. Why? Because I don't truly, I'm saying, Ya Wahhab, Ya Wahhab, Ya Wahhab, but I don't truly believe he's the Wahhab, he's the gifter, the provider, the bestower, more precisely. If I can't give, because if I'm not giving, what does it mean? If I can't give, it means there are many reasons, but it could be because it feels like it's mine, I worked hard for it, I earned it. How can I give it? If I earned it, it's God is not the in as far as my possession is concerned, God is not the bestower there, because I'm the one who earned it. It is mine. I am the true possessor. Can you see how, why? So what I mean here is how it feels. If it doesn't feel that God gave it to me, it means I don't truly believe that God is the bestower. And so when I say, oh, bestower, Ya Wahhab, it doesn't work because I'm saying it, but I don't believe it. When I'm aware and certain, at least to a certain degree, that whatever is in my possession is a gift from my sustainer, from the bestower, then it becomes easier to share and give. So, because then I start being open to the reality of abundance. There is abundance, everything is given to me. When I give, I am given, and we are, things that we had 10 years, they are not here. It means we are always constantly being given. Now, the solution is, of course, we need to reflect on the meaning of the ayat of the Quran and the creation. We need to confirm and witness and testify that indeed it is the truth that the beautiful names, for instance, the givenness, the bestowing of gifts and blessings belongs to God alone. He is the provider, he's the giver, he is the creator. It's not like I'm working hard, I earned it, it's mine, I can't give it to anyone. So at least I need to, in the beginning, be at peace with this new way of looking at things. My heart is at peace. Now, it doesn't mean that my belief is grounded. Not yet. I need to practice. So part of this confirmation, this practice, is to start giving. Giving consciously, Bismillah. In the beginning, let's say some people have a different problem. Some people, they can give, but they can't receive. I'm not going there. I'm just giving this as an example. But if my problem, for instance, is giving, just because now I know that God is the giver, suddenly I don't change because it's a habit. So I need to change my habit to fit my new belief. And so that belief will become, through practice, those beliefs will be grounded in my heart, in my body, it becomes my new way of being. So in the beginning, it may feel hard, but I will start giving. I need to give in the name of the bestower. He is the bestower, he gave me this, and I start with something that is easier to give for me. And gradually, when it becomes really easy to give that, then I increase gradually until I don't feel that attachment to things and it becomes easy to give. What does it mean? If I can give, it means I know that it is given unto me. And lo and behold, special treat from the bestower, you realize that as you give, you are given. And often, to attract our attention, we are given from what we give. You give food, you get food. I mean, you could be given also other things, but sometimes we are given even like something similar to attract our attention. But definitely, as the more we give, the more we will experience and that God is the giver. He is the bestower. So we need to put this in practice. Because that's how we are made to let go of our false claims that I am working hard, this is mine. I say it's from God, but I can't give it. What do you mean? If it's from God, then you should be able to share. I'm not saying you have one home, give your home, but I said start with something small. You have 10, give 2, 3. And as we start practicing this way, we start letting go of our false claims, because those false claims, they don't go theoretically. I am going to let go of my false claims. I am not the creator of my actions. I am not creating what I have. They are given by God. Yeah, okay, good. We all have to start there, but that information has to be internalized through action. I have to act on it. The more I give, the more I will, when I give in the name of the giver, in the name of the bestower, I will find myself after a while, that claim that I work hard and it's me and all that was like a burden, made life unbearable, that burden will be taken off. It will disappear. And I find myself, life is really enjoyable. It's really easy. It is given unto me through working, through whatever it is, even that work. How do I work? It's really just ways to subjugate things to us. Alhamdulillah. Here I wanted to share something just to help us expand on this, because I realize I don't have time to expand on calling unto God by means of the names. So Imam Nursi, he explains how we become acquainted with the divine names in various ways. I'm going to only share 2, because they are the most important ones. Through contrast, for instance, we are weak, we are powerless. Through our weakness, through our powerlessness, through our helplessness, through our needs, we are made to realize the power, the strength, the riches, the mercy, the compassion of our Rabb, of our sustainer. So through contrast, like day and night. Another aspect is through being like a sample or like a unit of measurement, he says. So we are mirror-like in a different way as well. For instance, we have a limited and partial knowledge, power, sight, hearing, a sense of ownership. And through this, they become like a unit of measurement. They're not of the same nature. To realize the knowledge, the power, the true knowledge, the true power, the true sight and hearing and sovereignty and rububiyah of our Rabb, of God. So it's like my hearing is actually not really mine, but it's a means, like a scale, to weigh and understand and grasp and realize that everything is created knowingly. Someone is hearing my prayer. And so I understand that God is all hearing, all seeing, all knowing, and everything. Now, we can, in the second one, and the first and the second, they go together. Because if I get stuck there and think that, oh, I see this much, God sees everything, I'm still open to shirk. Because the things that I see, I will attribute to myself. The thing that I make, I will say these are mine. That's why it won't be easy to share. But we said God is the maker of everything. He is the only creator. He is subjugating these things to me. In order to understand that, I need to understand that even my knowing my seeing, my hearing, in the first step, they seem like substantial. That's something I compare myself to God, but afterwards I realize that they are only like scales. I don't have any hearing from myself. And that only is possible to the extent that we truly realize the first one, which is our powerlessness, our helplessness, our neediness, and we seek help through the power, through his power, through his munificence, through his generosity, through his knowing, through his seeing. So even when I am seeing and not asking for anything, I see something beautiful and I say, oh, beautiful one, oh, beauteous, ya Jamil, oh, creator, oh, sustainer. And then I come back and say, oh, seer. I could not, oh, appreciator, because you made me appreciate, but you also gave me the means to become aware of all this and appreciate it. And I don't know how to see myself. You are the seer who makes me seize. It becomes name within name within name. And that's living and calling unto God by means of his names, with his names, not only in time of crisis or in time when we're asking for help, but at all times, especially when we take time to reflect. And that's why reflection is important, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ says 1 hour of reflecting is better than 60 years. It means a lifetime of worship. It means without that reflection, that worship will become hollow and meaningless. The more we reflect, the more that worship, it's the soul of our worship. That worship becomes meaningful. It becomes true, meaningful worship. We are acting, when we are acting, we are always seeing, thinking, knowing, being aware, moving, hearing, all these things. All these things we are exercising the skills, the samples given to us in order to realize that how God creates, how he brings things together, how to appreciate him, to know him, and to worship him alone and to ask help from him alone. And then we start appreciating everything in our life, all the results in our life as gifts from God and not the result of they are not my achievements. They are gifts. And that's why the more you think you have achieved, the more gratitude, the more prostrating before our Rabb. Otherwise, so this way there is no shirk. When we go to the beautiful names and from there to God, there is no shirk. Otherwise, we will find ourselves into shirk. That's why we say, Subhanaka, Subhanalladhi sakhara lana hada wa ma kunna lahu muqrinin. We can apply this for everything. Glory be unto him who has subjugated all this to not have done any of this by ourselves. So you realize now that our life, our whole life, is a dua. It is a means to know God with his most beautiful names. And that's why we don't need to wait for a crisis to call unto God with his name. In the beginning, we need it, but afterwards, we don't need for a crisis. Crisis will be from time to time, and it will be like the life of the Muhsin, as it is portrayed in the story of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. For us from outside, it looks like his life is up and down and lots of downs. But when you look at his state of being, it's always constant, always grounded, always in the presence of God, always trusting. So whatever is going on in the world, we will always be grounded, because wherever you look, there is the face of God. So we don't have to wait to be ill to call for the healer. We can appreciate our health right now. Alhamdulillah, can you imagine? Every day you can make it like call onto the healer, Ya Shafi, Ya Muafi, with praise, with gratitude. It's and the bonus with when we live this way, when we call onto God by means of His names, it's always going to take us to that state of gratitude. And the bonus of gratitude is, as we're told in the Quran, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I shall most certainly give you more and more. This is a promise. It starts with وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ. And remember when your Rabb, your sustainer, made this promise known. So God promises us, the more you are grateful, the more, because when we are grateful, even if there is no change, we will become aware of the extent of the blessings. And so that's light, and there is light upon light. We become more aware and therefore benefit more from what we already have, and it becomes even more. God is the bestower. His bestowing is infinite. So maybe we should stop here. Let me just, maybe another day we can do the prayer of Jonah. Is Yunus alayhi salam is an example of how to pray to God and make tasbih without, it means praying without going to shirk. It means praying with ihsan, with iman, with ihsan, calling onto God with iman, ihsan. Calling onto God should ground us in iman and ihsan. But if we are not calling onto God, if we are only calling when we are helpless and then forgetting, then there is a problem. I won't get back there. So the dua, the calling of the muhsin is truly uplifting. But that goes parallel with being aware that we are abd, that we are totally dependent on His sustaining. And in the beginning, at least being aware that we have needs and they are being fulfilled. And then we get to know the one who is meeting our needs.
There were some comments during your discourse on the chat box. Would anybody like to share them orally? It would be nice to hear your voice instead of me trying to read it from the chat box.
Well, I just felt that Sister Yanina was saying, which I keep on repeating. And it's beautiful to hear it in a different way. The awareness, the taqwa, and we all trying to do it. And by the way, Sister Yamina, this dua of Yunus alayhi salam, this is one of the most beautiful duas. When you think of prayer, what could be more beautiful than this kind of prayer? Yeah. I mean, the absolute darkness, he just glorifies God. You know? So
it's a key dua.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite duas. Yeah, so that's what it is. The more we intend to, the more we bring our intention for the awareness of Allah, the more things become easier. It become much easier. And as I put in my chat, if you remember, zikr is very much tied to fikr, the reflection, and that brings us the recognition of all the beautiful names of Allah. and to the realization or the nothingness. One thing I didn't interrupt you, but I was wondering why you said nothingness was fearful, because that's what we're aiming for, to efface our ego. But I guess to some people it could be fearful. I don't know. And maybe I didn't quite get it, because I was getting distracted with phone calls and whatnot. So yeah.
If you are on the path of being a abd, a conscious abd, then the nothingness is the nothingness of the claimed, of the illusory I. But if we are in ghafla, we are stuck, we are not aware that we are living an illusion, then death, and we don't know the meaning of death, then it means death is nothingness, in the sense that oblivion or obliteration. There will be nothing will exist, not only us, but everything.
So you were more speaking when it's fearful for the ones in the ghafla, I guess. That's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, but when we are not in ghafla, there is no nothingness anymore, because in the nothingness of the false I, we find the source of all being. There is true being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, to me, of course, it means that we have to completely disappear to realize into the true meaning of Tawheed. So.
The lie, the illusion needs to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the illusion will disappear as we start practicing and acting, not in my name, but in the name of whoever belongs that name.
Right.
The more I am aware of that it is only coming through me, and I acknowledge it, the more when I acknowledge it, I won't be able to, without realizing, fall into the illusion that I am doing, therefore the other is doing, and therefore God recedes in the background from our reality. But the more I acknowledge the reality, the more the illusion recedes, the darkness recedes, and there will be light everywhere.
Oh, by the way, there's one sister, I think, that was beautiful. The word crisis in Chinese has two characters. One represents danger and one represents opportunity. That was lovely. And that is exactly what I was trying to say in the last session I was in, that every danger is an opportunity to climb up. That's
every weakness is a strength. True. It's only when we are stuck in one aspect and we don't see the other that
yeah, the Rahma will be with you. Remember, I was in very excruciating pain this last Saturday, and then suddenly in the midst of my pain, I thought, why am I losing this opportunity? And I started crying out, Allah, give me purity, purity. So it, like at that moment, you just want to be free of the pain, completely forgetting this is the wonderful time to climb. So at some point, I just suddenly realized it and just started saying, I just want purity through this pain. Difficult. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Amina.
Thank you for sharing.
Is there anyone else who would like to join in with a comment or a question which would be answered?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, ma'am.
I needed a clarification from Yamina. You said when we pray for rain, we're not praying for rain. It's not specifically for rain. Could you just talk more on that?
When we perform the rain prayer, we are not praying for the rain to rain, but we are praying, it is the time to pray. It's like when it's time for Maghrib, when the sun sets, we don't pray for the sun to set. The sun is going to set anyway. You can calculate it. The rain is, someone can even, we can't calculate exactly, but like if someone could, it's going to rain or not is not what we are doing. It is the time for it. So for instance, let's say
Prayer is that prayer might be more easier. Eclipse, when there's a moon or sun eclipse, there are prayers recommended.
Yeah. Because here, if it is drought time, God knows. He knows our needs. So it's when we go and pray, we are not, how do you say? It's not time to let go, God know of our situation. He already knows. It is time for us to acknowledge that we can only seek help from him. That he has the solution for everything, that he is the one we worship, we seek help from, that everything that we need is with him and only with him. So it's the time to acknowledge that reality, to remember that reality.
Can I you just try to say it's exactly what I had put in my chat, that these are the moments of intense need that we actually recognize the power, and instead of just putting it into a prayer of asking, to recognize, and that's where the beautiful names come in, is a shift in our spiritual progression. So I think that's what Sister Emina was saying. This is not the praying for rain as much as the recognition that he's the source of everything. So
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for instance, if I have an illness and I pray, oh healer, oh gifter, or something, and then I say, Alhamdulillah, God is the healer and he gave me healing. And if someone thinks that I was praying, actually what I was doing is reminding myself that he is the healer and healing is with him. Someone else will say, oh, I didn't ask God for anything and I got healed as well and I got healthy as well. And they will say there is no need for healing, as if there is something happening without God. I'll give you a story of Juha. Juha goes to the tea shop and sits down and tells the people, he asks them, which is more important, the sun or the moon? And they say, the sun, of course. He says, haha, no. They say, how come? He says, the sun, when the sun is out there, it's bright and light anyways. But when the moon is bright out there, it's in the darkness, we can see it, we can use it.
We need the moon more.
So we need the moon more. And we say, like, what is he saying? And you know what Juha is teaching them. This is what you do in your life. When we say there is light, I don't need the sun. I am healthy, I don't need God. As if my health has nothing to do with God. And he said, why did you ask for health for a flu? You get this medicine, and you get here. You don't need to ask. You will only ask help from God when you don't know the healing. it means it's totally distorted understanding of God. It means it is light as if the light has nothing to do with the sun. So why do we need the sun? He said, well, it's light anyway. But at night we need the moon. So the moon here represents, for instance, the healing, the medication I'm taking. It is the light it reflects is not from it, it's from the sun. And the darkness is the darkness of my own ghafla, of my own mindlessness. It seems dark, there is nothing, and oh, lo and behold, this medication is giving me health. So I need medication. Why are you praying to God when there is medication? Pray to God when there is no medication.
And the medication seems more powerful than praying to God.
Because it is palpable. That's why, remember in Surah Al-Baqarah, one of the first descriptions of al-muttaqin, the God conscious, is yu'minuna bil-ghayb. We don't believe in concrete things. Concrete thing is, that's not belief. That's, I'm touching it. Belief is in the unseen. That's belief. That's truly belief. Otherwise, the medication is here. Yes, but this medication cannot act on its own. How can it act? What is it? It's just some powder, some pills, it is created. لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون. It cannot create anything. But just like by means of water, lifeless water, God gives life by means of lifeless medication. It's a substance. He gives healing. So when I am taking the same medication as the other person, I am saying, in the name of God, the healer, oh healer, you are the healer. You heal me with nothing. Most of the time I'm healthy, alhamdulillah. You heal me with this medication. You heal me with prayer alone. You heal me with everything. You have the power of everything. The other one says, oh, I have my medication. I don't need to ask for healing right now. So can you see that? When I am ill, I am not asking for healing. It is time for asking for healing, for calling onto God as the healer, acknowledging that He's the healer, remembering that He's the healer, knowing Him truly with certainty that He's the healer, witnessing that He's the healer, experiencing that He's the healer. He gives me healing, He doesn't give me healing. That's up to Him, it's not up to me. Anyways, the most important thing is not that He gives me healing, but that I know, that I find the eternal source of healing. Because if He gives me healing and I don't know Him as the source of healing, I will have healing in this world, and that's it. This world, this life is so short compared with eternity. Does it make sense that it is the opportunity, it is the time, it is not the aim, it is not the goal. The aim and the goal of all du'as, all prayer, is to know God with His beautiful names, and therefore to worship Him alone. Because why do we worship other things? Why do we seek other things? Because we have the illusion that they can help us themselves, that somehow they can benefit us. They can not benefit us on their own. Water cannot give life. Life is given together with water. And it is because water, lifeless water is used, that I get to realize that water becomes the spokesman, becomes the mirror, becomes the herald to the name giver of life. Drought becomes the herald that the giver of life, the creator, the sustainer is God, and so is rain. And actually, because they don't exist on their own, drought means the lack of rain. So rain and the lack of rain together is a powerful ayah. As I always say, you see the beautiful flower blooming, you say, oh, how beautifully it is created, but somehow it feels like it's beautiful as well. And then it wills, and Allah says, who is beautiful? Tell me again. Go and check again. You go and check and say, oh, truly, beauty is not from it. It was just a mirror. And now the mirror doesn't have any beauty in it. So truly, it is not beautiful. It is made beautiful. It mirrors and it reflects the beautiful. It is an ayah to the beautiful. It glorifies God through its beauty and even more through its death and wilting.
So it's like a progression from daily prayer. When we do sunset prayer, we're not asking that let the sun not set. It is setting, but then we are
whether I pray or not.
yeah, but we are affirming that yes, this is the day is ending, but there is someone who doesn't end, and I turn to him. And then with the eclipse prayers, and the Prophet himself said, eclipse has its time, and it has nothing to do with what's happening to a person or something. So he was very clear about that. But you still do a prayer in eclipse time to remember who is the one who has control over sun and the moon and the things we take.
Yes.
Progression. We're not asking it to be stopped, but it is that time. And then the sickness.
Remembrance. It's a dhikr.
Yeah. And drought and sickness is more like the occasion seems like something I need, but again, it is just an occasion to remember actually and to come back, as you just said.
And to remember that all the time actually I'm in need, I'm just not aware of it most of the time.
Yeah. Sarah, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, Maha's question, hearing it just sparked something inside of me that just clicked.
An important question.
Yeah. And it never really, like, I knew it in my mind just because I've heard it from others, but it never really resonated for me until I got to witness my brother pass. And I think just like the comment would hopefully be a comment and kind of like a summary of everything that we've been covering so far. Well, this also includes like the Wednesday classes, that everything is just kind of coming together. And it just helps me to say out loud as a way to make it a coherent single picture. But as soon as, may Allah have mercy on my brother, as soon as we got to observe that he was in need of CPR and CPR was being done unto him, I just came upstairs and told my mother, like, it's just time to pray. Like, and the only two names that came to my prayer was like, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, like, and it's like everything froze, time froze, I froze, like I couldn't feel anything except those two names. And I just couldn't feel anything except those two names, and everything was taken from me in that moment. And I mean, in retrospect, I can see how these words are very true, and I can testify to their truthness, because there's a surrendering that happens that is irrespective of the result. Because if we say, I'm gonna pray for rain because I want it to rain, then it's like this whole thing that the Quran is teaching to surrender or to melt away from our perceptive experience here in the world. If we wait on the result, then it's like you're just reaffirming and strengthening this whole ego that feels like it knows what it wants and needs and what results it's anticipating. Whereas the whole purpose of everything, and then we discussed this in the Wednesday class, is to reach this state of first connecting the need to the name, but then that was the third step. The fourth step was just realizing that you're just the observer and just channeling everything happening, and you're observing really your ultimate reality, that you're just totally unable to do anything and just feeling and acknowledging what's happening at every moment. So it's like it doesn't, at that point, it wasn't going to matter whether he was brought back to life or whether he passed. But I just, in that moment, realized there's no ability. I had no power. And I realized the one that did, and whatever happens, happened. Like whatever the result was, the result was. And I just, that was a way for me to link back to the purpose of realizing that in every moment, we're just in a state of realizing our needs and realizing the one, well, hopefully becoming more and more acquainted with the one giving us the need, giving us the ability to be aware of the need, and then inviting us to the calling of the name that's manifesting, all just as a way to use the human experience instead of an I experience, but as a abd experience, to just become aware. And then this is the whole merging away from I into just channeling or seeing needs. Surrender, yeah.
That's when we surrender truly. Yeah, thank you. That's an important question that Maha asked, because it's like when we truly grasp the difference, then we start moving away from shirk and truly understanding the message of the Quran and truly witnessing the beautiful names of God. Otherwise, it remains a claim, because I'm not involved. I'm still holding on to the illusion of the I. And if I'm holding on to the illusion that the I has something, I cannot truly, I'm not handing over the trust, the names of God to God. I'm holding onto them myself. So how can I not attribute them to things? And how can I get away from shirk? How can I not call onto other things? That's why in the Quran keeps saying, you call onto other than gods. Do not call onto other than gods. Can they help you? Can they benefit you? It means that's what we do most of the time. But calling onto God, that's what it means. Because if I say, I know this is what I need, and please God, give it to me, I already started on the wrong foot. I already started with the wrong claim. I'm saying I can't do it, but I know what I need. And I know how it's going to be done. Can you just do it for me? Astaghfirullah. But the more we question that, that's a burden, because many times we may be given exactly what we want. And after a while, we realize that maybe it was not the best thing. So we learn to just surrender, just trust. And it's a huge relief and a huge joy. And you start trusting God, surrendering, saying yes, whatever you give is the best, and how I respond to it, I will seek guidance, because otherwise I think I know how to respond to this. I know the meaning of this. I don't know the meaning. I don't know what to do with things. I don't know what stand to take in many things. That's why I need the guidance. That's why I need divine guidance. Otherwise, the Quran becomes something we read tabarru'an, a prayer book on Fridays during the month of Ramadan and things like that. That's good, but the Quran is much more than that. It is our map, life map, how to know ourselves, to know the world, how to live in the world, and to prepare for eternal life, to prepare for akhirah, not just to live in the world randomly. So it's a huge mercy to have that guidance. And the guidance, of course, is not only in the Quran, but, well, it's together, because the Quran is not just the words. The meanings and the guidance that comes with the words when we recite them without intention is coming to come as guidance and intuition and signs in the created world. That's why the Quran and the creation, we cannot separate them. They are to be read and used together, and we get to appreciate the extent of the blessing of the Quran to the extent that we realize how much helpless and needy we are and how clueless we are. But when we are not aware, when we are mindless, we think we know. Shall we end? Have a poem from Maulana Muhammad Jalaluddin, known as Rumi, and it's called Prayer, Dua is an Egg. So he says, on Resurrection Day, on Resurrection Day, God will say, what did you do with the strength and energy we gave you through your food while you were on earth? How did you use your eyes? What did you make with your 5 senses while they were dimming and playing out? I gave you hands and feet as tools for preparing the grounds for planting. Did you, in the health I gave you, do the plowing? You will not be able to stand when you hear those questions. You will bend double and finally acknowledge the glory. God will say, lift your hand and answer the questions. Your head will rise a little, then slump again. Look at me. Tell, what have you done? You try, but you fall back flat as a snake. I want every detail. Say. Eventually, you will be able to get to a sitting position. Be plain and clear. I have given you such gifts. What did you do with them? You turn to the right, looking to the prophets for help, as though to say, I'm stuck in the mud of my life. Help me out of this. They will answer those kings. The time for helping is past. The plow stands there in the field. You should have used it. Then you turn to the left where your family is, and they will say, don't look at us. This conversation is between you and your Creator. Then you pray the prayer that is the essence of every ritual. God, I have no hope. I am torn to shreds. You are my first and my last and my only refuge. Don't do daily prayers like a bird pecking, moving its head up and down. Prayer is an egg. Hatch out the total helplessness inside. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Remember, we end with Fatiha after we disperse, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amina. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Ramadan Mubarak.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ramadan Mubarak to everyone.
Thank you.
Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah, inshallah, accept and make this a very special Ramadan for everyone. Ameen. Ramadan of gratitude, inshallah.
Full of barakah, inshallah.
Inshallah, we'll meet on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for our first Ramadan session, inshallah. Join us.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum fi amanillah.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you, Mustafa. Assalamu alaikum.